Guys, welcome back to another segmented episode of Into the West Comics. A special new comic book day edition. I've got my weekly Wednesday geniuses here and critics. Hot Dog Paul is here at the table.
I am here. How goes it? I'm,
what a cutie.
About to nerd out a little bit.
And Brother Marcus joins us all the way from next to me at the table.
Hello, everyone.
How are you?
Good.
Sitting in a slightly different spot, getting situated.
Yeah.
You're looking great. You're very airy. You can stretch and put your leg over your head. Guys, let's get into new comic book day. Let's talk about some of the stuff you picked up this week. Okay. Who'd like to start? Who'd like to kick off? I was going to do a coin toss, but I don't have a quarter. Marcus, go ahead.
All right. So my three ones that I picked up today, this week, were Star Wars Visions, which is a brand new title. It's based off of the Disney Plus series that was introduced a little bit ago, and it's phenomenal. It follows the Ronin, which was the first episode of that show. It probably the most iconic from that run, actually, because it was then novelized, and now we have a little comic book run of it, and it is amazing. It's done by Takashi Okazaki, I believe this is his last name, the same guy who created Afro Samurai. So he is nice. he drew and wrote the story, and it follows him. And I believe it was, if I remember correctly, it was set before the events of that first episode. So you see him a little bit before the episode that we all know and enjoy. The third title that I picked up was The Punisher War Journal Brother One Shot.
Wow, that was a tongue twister.
Yes. I went slow. And this one shot is interesting because not only, for some background, the War Journal run of comics for Punisher typically are more episodic in nature, so usually they can pretty much stand alone. There might be like 2 or 3 issues that might tie together in like 2 or 3 parts story arcs, but then it moves on. And so it's a lot more focused more on action versus overall story, like the main Punisher title. And this is a good one because it's not only action-packed, it follows Punisher Frank Castle, who's the leader of the Hand, and he is now basically public enemy number 1, not from what we would consider the good guys, law enforcement, superheroes, and all that, but he's public enemy number 1 from the criminal underworld standpoint.
Right.
So this one guy literally has caused the entire criminal underworld. We're talking terrorists, we're talking crime families all around the world to meet and discuss how to take him out. And they're using internet, they're using surveillance technology, drone technology. There's an entity that they've all kind of commissioned to use that integrates surveillance information, and they also have money, so they offer money as a reward for people who post real-time images of him where he's at so they can go get him. And it's just nonstop, him basically thwarting guys left and right who are trying to kill him. And also the final special thing about it is Grombeck, the writer, is also going to be taking over for Thor at Thor 29. Donny Cates is leaving after
a tumultuous run.
Yeah, after issue 28, and Grombeck was also the one who did the 5-part miniseries, Jane Foster, Mighty Thor, and that's kind of what clued me in that he was leaving. And then finally, Daredevil. Daredevil issue 4 is out.
Yep.
And with this one was great because now we finally have it etched in stone. For those who haven't been following, since the biggest Devil's Reign event that just passed, we now have a world that thinks that Daredevil, or Matt, is dead. So he's basically free to be Daredevil. And he and Elektra are now pretty much officially christened in this issue as leaders of the Fist. So now you have fist meeting the hand. If you've been following Punisher, you know that Punisher is the leader of the hand. So we're going to see some heads butting with those two very soon here.
I also have Daredevil on my pull.
Hey.
We were discussing what we were gonna do our picks of the weeks for, and I was gonna use Daredevil, and Marcus kind of took it first. I was like, all right, let me spotlight some other stuff because Marcus is. I'm gonna let him have Daredevil
You
so we can
switched
get
it
some
up a
other
little
stuff. Switched it up a little bit. It's great though. I actually haven't read the newest issue yet, because the amount of stuff I have to read is absurd. But it's super good. We're gonna have a bit of a theme probably in the coming weeks for a certain writer, Chip Zdarsky, who is writing Daredevil, who is also writing another book we're going to mention towards the end of this little segment. And also he's writing Batman, which is fantastic. My picks of the week, I'm going to start with something that I, like as of right now, it's my new favorite run. Ram V and Raphael Albuquerque Detective Comics. Now, a lot of times Detective Comics will focus on smaller characters and kind of the Bat family or the Gotham family, if you will, and it'll go into that kind of realm. I've never been terribly interested in that. It results in a scattershot book where it doesn't really have much of a theme for me. I'm trying to grab onto different characters that I'm not as interested in.
Kind of gets lost a little bit.
Kind of get lost a little bit. But Ram V, Bruce, as Batman, is the main character in this. He is the one he's pushing the story forward. And it's, like I said, Ram V, Raphael Albuquerque. The art is unreal. We'll put some of it up on screen here. It's beautiful. And it feels like Batman, like a Batman Gothic opera. It's the most interested I've been in Detective Comics since Scott Snyder was on it for Black Mirror. And it's got me interested in a way that a detective movie does. It's fantastic. And I'm really enjoying that. Now, my second pick of the week is going to be Superman Space Age. There's 2 issues out. It's by Mark Russell, Laura Allred, and her husband, Allred. I can't remember his first name off the top of my head.
Michael.
They're related. But it's fantastic. The way I would describe Superman Space Age, it's like, okay, so you know how all these characters get aged forward? Like, it's like, okay, well, in the 40s, Superman was born in the 20s. In the 60s, he was born in the 40s, so on and so forth. This is, what if we were back in the original-ish timeline where Superman crashed in the 40s? He's a like an older teenager, 20-year-old in the 60s. JFK gets assassinated, and we're seeing the fallout from that and how much an important person can, just a figure can have an impact on the world. And then that kind of makes Superman, Clark Kent, realize the type of person he needs to be or can be and how far behind he is, especially when he first comes to the Fortress of Solitude, and Jor-El is like, hey, you've obviously already learned this stuff. And Superman's like, what? I didn't know I could do that. And then as we get into the second issue, it's the Justice League kind of forms. And it's very, I don't know, it feels like I'm reading a cartoon in a really fun way, but a throwback in every single sense of the word. It's really, really good. And then my third pick of the week is Deceased number 2. I think it actually came out last week, but I wasn't not going to include it because it's Deceased Undead Gods. It is the 3rd or 4th run in this title, and I believe it's the final one for Tom Taylor's Deceased. I wouldn't be surprised if they did spinoffs and stuff like that.
Right.
But it is the culmination of this anti-life equation virus that turns people into zombies, and they found a cure for it. And they're undoing all the things that happened in the past, but there's some people like Alfred who didn't think there was a cure. He killed Bruce, Dick, he killed everybody because they were zombies and didn't think there was a cure, and we're seeing fallout from that. But the problem is the gods of New Genesis and Apocalypse are now infected with this anti-life equation that's turning them into zombies. And the boom tubes are now, I can't remember what they're called, but basically Big Barda is about to go through a boom tube, and Death itself, the Black Racer, stops her from going in. It was like, you will die if you go through this. I wish I could remember what they're calling the boom tubes now. It's actually really interesting. But he's like, we need to stop this. And basically the second issue wraps up with Darkseid going to Cougar, which is where Sinestro is from, and there's a fallout there and a big battle that happens there that's it's so much fun to read. And it's Tom Taylor and Trevor Harrison as it has been for most of them. I think one of them in the middle, Unkillables, may have had a different artist on it, but it is the most consistent offshoot kind of Elseworld things that has continued. Like, and Tom Taylor's been on all of them, which I think is fantastic.
Right.
And that comic is maybe my favorite comic of all time.
Wow.
I love it. It's really
great.
That's
and
a
I'm
bold
not
statement.
I'm not a zombies guy. Like I'm not
Right.
super, but to watch these characters deal with the fallout of people dying, not knowing if they can save them, having to circumvent that and save what they can.
Right.
And I really love it. And I think it's not a ton of reading. If it's super easy to get into too. You don't have to know a bunch, and I think that makes it even better, especially paired with Tom Taylor's writing.
Yeah, Tom Taylor, he was actually the first, the Deceased series was actually the first, my first intro into his writing. And he has a very simple, straight ahead.
Me too.
Yeah, very simple, very straight ahead. You know, you can get through an issue very easily. It's not over expository. It's not, you know, and it flows well. He's a great writer.
Like, it usually takes to read a trade, like a good sized trade, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. You read a Tom Taylor trade and you read it in 45 minutes, not because the word count is any lower or anything like that. It's just it flows and you're like, oh crap, this is over. I want more of it.
Right.
And that's how his writing feels, and that's how Deceased has felt for me.
Right.
Going through it and reading all of those things. It's really fantastic.
Before I get your guys' pick of the week, or I think you're going to mention a trade that you guys have both been talking about, or we've all been talking about a little bit. I wanted to mention our sponsor for this show, Crafty Comics. It's Crafty with an I.
Shout out Crafty.
We've all got stuff, okay? We all have things that we want to preserve and show off to our friends and loved ones. It would be a home office or mounted up on the wall or, you know, wherever it would be. For graded comics, original artwork, sports cards, Crafty Comics has whatever option you need. If you're concerned about sending your stuff away and then hoping that it returns to you in some decent condition, don't worry. They've got you covered. You can pick how you want to have your items presented, and they will give you all types of different options to have your stuff shown off the best way. Show off your stuff, and Crafty Comics is there for you. We've got Dan and Jen. You reach out to them at Crafty Comics. It's Crafty with an I on the Instagram, craftycomics.com. Get in touch with those guys. They're the best. I'm sitting here with a couple of crafty guys. And guys, listen, for tonight, I want to talk about your pick of the week, something we've all been talking about. Again, you mentioned Zdarsky. Go ahead, Paul.
So I think last week, was it on the show? Marcus was talking about Newburn, and he described what it was about, and I was like, I think you need to put that on my pull box so I can go in and get it. And well, I went and got it.
There you go.
Let me tell you, it is every bit as good as Marcus described it, and he didn't there was no spoilers in what he was telling me about it, but I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, this is exactly what I expected. It's really, really good. It's like reading a limited HBO show. It's like reading True Detective or watching True Detective.
There you go.
There you go.
It's so good, and learning who this character is, and you're kind of learning who he is there's not people coming up and being like, Easton Newburn, he is he's in between both mobs, he helps both of them, he does this, that, and the other thing. You're seeing his actions and the people reacting to him, and you're seeing how he is entrenched in this noir world, and why he's important, and why you can't, if you want to kill him, why you can't just do that, because then you're going to have a whole 2 mobs, not 1 mob coming down on your head. And that's what I have found. I'm about halfway through the trade. I think, Marcus, you've read all the issues that you're up to date, and I am enthralled. I was sitting there, we're changing up segments and stuff, and so we're just hanging out in the studio a little bit today, and I was just sitting there reading it. I couldn't help it. It's so good.
Well, good. That does my heart well, because I there are so many titles that we could pick from, and I could display for everyone and recommend, but that was one that is so good that I just don't know if enough people are talking about it. So that was one of those ones that I did not want anyone to lose out or get lost in the mountain of other things that are coming out on a weekly basis, because that is such a quality story. The characters are so grounded. It almost reads
Feels
like
real.
it feels like it's based on a true story. And
Yep.
yeah, and that's what I liked about it. It was very real, very relatable. The tension is just steadily there the whole time you're reading that tension, that suspenseful tension. So
It is written by Chip Zdarsky, as mentioned, and the art is from Jacob Phillips. The first volume is out, trade. It's the first 5 issues, I believe. First 4 or 5 issues.
yes,
You can go to your local comic book shop and pick it up. And guess what you need to know about comics? Nothing. You don't need to know why Batman's parents were killed. You don't need to know where Superman's from. You don't need to know.
Spoiler.
You don't need to know anything to read this and enjoy it. It's just a detective story with great visuals. It's laid out similarly to a comic called Mr. Miracle. It's got the same kind of grid, and it's easy to read. It flows. I know a lot of people who struggle to get into comics are like, I have a hard time knowing which caption I need to read next. The way this book is laid out, you don't have that issue because of the grid and the I can't remember what the phrase is, but the layout of this book makes it very easy. This is the kind of comic I would say, hey, you want to read comics, but you don't know if you're into superheroes? Go pick up New Burn. It's at your local comic book shop, Maximum Comics specifically. Go there, say hi to Marcus, get New Burn.
yeah.
Guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight and checking out our new comic book day reviews. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button, comment and like, and let us know how we're doing. We will talk to you next week with some more new comic book stuff. I think there's more Zdarsky on the horizon, I believe.
I'm sure.
Definitely more.
We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good evening.
Later, y'all.